Shove it, man!
Shove it, squad. I asked you to pick the video this week, and the winning suggestion was all the wrestlers that Dixie Carter has slept with. Wait, that's not a proper suggestion, is it? You can all blame Brett Bateson over on YouTube for making that suggestion. Brett, shut up or I'll smack you one. The real video today is a review of Victory Road 2009. This is officially rated as the worst TNA pay-per-view. And yes, it was rated online by a bunch of little girls in their mother's basements, fantasising over being a ring rope during a Beautiful People entrance. But it's got me intrigued. How could this be rated worse than Victory Road 2011 when a drugged up Jeff Hardy clashed with Sting? Well, let's find out. Victory Road 2009, shove it or love it. We start out the show with the Knockouts title on the line. The Beautiful People have been feuding with Tara, who recently debuted in TNA and is the champion after beating Angelina. Shout out to Velvet Sky here, who is certainly looking her best. Angelina was forced into this match after Tara put a spider on Velvet and the Beautiful People are terrified of the spider. Tara puts her tarantula move on Angelina and then attacks the Beautiful People on the outside. Angelina is having a bit of a wardrobe malfunction with her G-string and she seems a bit distracted by it. Velvet even tries to help her hide it at one point. Angelina Love slams Tara from the top for a 2. Angelina then comes back from the top for another 2. Tara then fights back with a flapjack that Garrett Bischoff would be proud of, and then gets a 2 with a standing moonsault. Velvet then accidentally sprays Angelina Love in the face with hairspray, but the referee misses the pin because he sends the Beautiful People to the back. Tara misses a top rope moonsault, and then Angelina crawls on top of her for the pin, but Tara gets her foot on the rope. The referee misses it and still counts the 3. The gimmick here is that the Beautiful People have been sleeping with referee Slick Johnson. Tara kicks the referee and then hits the Widow's Peak on Angelina Love because she's a bad loser. A match that was too short and had an annoying finish. I'm giving it a D. Tara then puts the spider on the referee and celebrates with the spider. In the back, Kurt Angle is looking like a crackhead with a fat, miserable man sat near him. Kurt says that when he takes on Nick Foley tonight, do not expect a pay-per-view quality match. Better turn the show off now, guys. Kurt is flat out saying that the main event is going to suck tonight. Wait, don't turn my video off. Kurt tells the main event Mafia members that if they don't win their matches clean tonight, he will come out and fire them from the Mafia. What's clear here is that as the pay-per-view progresses, it's essentially the main event Mafia versus the TNA roster, but they don't really sell it to us like that. Maybe they should have. Matt Boring is out next. He's been trying to get into the main event Mafia by impressing them. How about getting in the main event first, you idiot? It's not called the mid-card Mafia. His opponent is Daniels with a goatee that makes him look like a predator. What a weird matchup this is. Morgan throws Daniels straight over the top rope at the beginning of the match. There's a strange fat ginger balding referee doing this match. I don't think I've ever seen him before, but I hate him. Daniels fights back and drop kicks Matt Morgan from the top. Daniels then kicks Morgan out of the ring. Daniels hits the suicide dive, but Morgan stays on his feet. Daniels finally takes Morgan off his feet with a split-legged moonsault on the outside. Daniels then tweaks his leg and now Morgan is control of the match. Morgan hits a leg drop across Daniels' leg to hurt it further. It was at this point that I realised that Dom West is heel on commentary. This is right at the end of his TNA commentary run, and after one more pay-per-view he would be replaced by Taz. Daniels tries to hit the BME but can't get it because his leg hurts. Morgan then wins with the Elevator. I almost fell asleep. It wasn't particularly bad, but it was just boring. I'm giving it a C. Stevie Richards is backstage whispering about Abyss. Richards has been Abyss's therapist, but he's not actually helping him. He's making him into even more of an idiot. Abyss is now a whimpering fool who's scared to use weapons, but this is a no disqualification match. Daphne tells Stevie that she loves him. Stevie comes out to the sound of crickets. Abyss comes out with a new attire on and the commentary team laugh at how stupid he looks. He looks like he got all his clothes from a charity shop in the bad part of town. Stevie beats up Abyss with a baton and then chokes him. Stevie tries to knock Abyss down but he's too fat. Abyss then slaps him down. Abyss and Stevie start fighting in the crowd, something you'll see a lot of tonight. Abyss keeps throwing Stevie into a cardboard wall and then Abyss claps like a seal with happiness. What an idiot. People in the crowd are mocking him and clapping like Abyss. Stevie starts bleeding like mad even though barely anything happened to him. The crowd are very much into the beating that Abyss is handing out. Everyone always enjoyed watching Stevie Richards in pain, didn't they? Stevie is really struggling and Abyss throws him into a steel chair. Abyss then hits the shock treatment backbreaker. He then goes for a pin but changing his mind. Daphne and the generic blonde interviewer then come out and start brawling around the outside of the ring. Stevie then gets hold of a taser gun and charges at Abyss, but Abyss picks him up and nails the black hole slam. Abyss then picks up the taser and shocks Stevie as smoke pours out, because this is how tasers work. This causes Stevie to shake and dump in his nappy. Abyss pins him for the 3. Some of the crowd look impressed and others look slightly annoyed. It wasn't really much of a match, but it wasn't terrible. The taser spot was a little bit silly. I'm giving it a C. This is just a bunch of average matches so far. I don't see what the big deal is about this pay-per-view. Mick Foley is backstage trying to give Beer Money a pep talk before their tag title match, and he warns them about the main event Mafia getting all the belts. Mick says he wants them to win their matches because he doesn't want to be under pressure in his main event match. Wow, really selling this match. Kurt said don't expect a good match, and Foley says no one can rely on him. Next up, the British Invasion challenged Team 3D for their IWGP tag titles. If 3D lose the match, they will lose their New Japan bookings because TNA doesn't pay their wrestlers enough of a wage to survive. 3D are in charge with their double team moves. The crowd are all over Williams and chant wanker at him. Williams gets the advantage with the diving uppercut. The British Invasion dominate Bubba for ages. It's pretty boring, to be honest. No offence. Bubba eventually fights back with a spear and tags Devon in. Devon beats them both up on his own. Bubba then gets back into the match and hits a rock bottom for a 2. Team 3D then start double teaming and they also hit the what's up. Devon then gets the table for some reason, but the mullet Rob Terry attacks Devon from behind. The referee then tries to get the table out of the ring, and he spends literally 30 seconds trying. During this time, Magnus botched getting thrown out of the ring, and then Rob Terry got on the ring, but none of this was enough, and Team 3D still win the 3D. After the match, Kiyoshi and Bashir run down to the ring, and because they're jobbers, they fail. Bubba ends up powerbombing Sheikh Abdul Bashir through the table. A slightly longer TV match than we normally get, but it was extremely boring at times. D. Backstage, the generic blonde is with referee Slick Johnson. She points out that he screwed up in the match. He admits he made a mistake and apologises to Tara, but no mention of her kicking him in the face. Maybe she should apologise for that. Next up, some jobber Bolt comes out. She will be in the corner of Booker T's wife Sharmell. Awesome Kong is out next, who will be in the corner of the next woman. It's Jenna Maraska. This match is legendary for TNA fans. Legendary bad, that is. This girl was off a program called Survivor, but I can't say I've ever watched it. I don't see how any of TNA's target audience would know who she is. I do have to say, look at the audience tonight. It's a bunch of 20 to 30 year olds. You wouldn't get that in wrestling anymore. They're dead into the show as well, to be fair. Jenna Maraska has been in TNA as the main event Mafia's financial backer, but kept bickering with Sharmell. She comes out doing the sluttiest entrance you've ever seen. Just look at it. Sharmell is wrestling in a big blue dress. She starts out by clubbing Jenna and stomping on her. Sharmell then hits a weak-looking elbow. Sharmell puts on the camel clutch, but she doesn't get Jenna to tap out. Awesome Kong looks so annoyed to be involved in this. Jenna then scores a 2 with a crossbody. Sharmell keeps attacking her as the crowd chant boring. Some jobber then interferes, so Kong chases her. She then gets in the ring and helps Sharmell. Jenna fights back with some slow-motion slaps as the crowd boo. I don't think I've ever seen anything that bad in wrestling before. They then do the catfight spot with Earl Hebner. Some jobber then gets knocked off the ring apron. Kong is supposed to catch her but misses, and she just kind of lets her hit the floor. Kong doesn't look like she cares at all. Kong then punches Sharmell for the knockout, and then Jenna does the dirtiest looking pin I've ever seen for the 3. After the match, Jenna slaps Kong for no reason, so Kong splashes her. Why was any of this on pay-per-view? This match is an F, but I don't know if it's the worst TNA match I've ever seen. There was only one embarrassingly bad part of the match. That was the slow motion slapping bit. Kevin Nash is backstage making fun of Beer Money and AJ Styles, saying that they're garbage and haven't achieved anything in 5 years. Kevin Nash says that if he can't beat AJ Styles tonight, he will retire. In this feud with AJ, they've touched on lots of real life elements, with Kevin Nash milking WCW for every penny they had, and AJ complaining because he was still a jobber back then. AJ is the Legends Champion, a belt that is, was, and will always be completely worthless. AJ uses his speed early on to try and unsettle Nash. Nash eventually catches AJ and whacks him with his knees in the corner. This match slows down to Nash's speed as he hits a side slam. AJ then tries to get something going from the top, but Nash boots him in the face off the top rope to the outside in a cool spot. Nash then gets back in the ring and signals that he's going for the jackknife. AJ fights out of this and crashes down on top of him for a clunky looking pin. Styles then says to Nash, "Shut up or I'll smack you one." AJ then starts brawling with Nash as the crowd boo. AJ is supposed to be a good guy here, but this match feels like the other way round. Nash is completely grounded as AJ stamps on him, and the crowd don't know what to do. AJ then tries to make him tap out, but Nash rolls onto his back. AJ then puts him in a chin lock as he yells at the crowd. Nash then gets a hope spot. What a strange match this is. AJ then springboards into the ring and smacks Nash in the head, but can only get a 2. AJ then dodges a clothesline and hits Nash with a Pele kick. AJ then goes for yet another springboard. He awkwardly kind of misses, and then Nash picks him up and nails him with the choke slam. Nash is the new Legends Champion. What a weird match. I mean, Nash beating AJ in 2009 is weird enough, and AJ throwing a tantrum after the match is a bit weird too. As strange as this match was, it might shock you to know I probably enjoyed this match the most on the night. AJ got a decent match out of Nash. I'm going to give it a C despite the strangeness of it. Backstage, the generic blonde interviewer catches referee Slick Johnson coming out the shower of Madison Rayne. Madison tells her that she better keep her mouth shut and not tell anyone. Doesn't she realise she's on TV? Booker and Scott Steiner are up next for the tag title match against Beer Money Inc. Storm is on his boozer cruiser, you gotta love the cruiser. Storm gets the advantage on Booker T early on until Booker pokes Rude in the eyes. Beer Money hit the Beer Money suplex on Steiner, which is almost completely ruined. Steiner and Booker then start cheating to get the advantage. Steiner gets a 2 on a belly to belly. Storm is really struggling and Steiner gives him an overhead belly to belly. Steiner and Booker then hit some nice double team moves on Storm, but Rude has to break up the pin. Storm eventually hits a DDT on Steiner from the top. Rude then gets the tag and takes out the 2 main event Mafia men. Rude then gets a 2 with a diving neckbreaker from the top. Beer Money then hit a slightly dodgy looking double team on Steiner. Booker then throws Storm out the ring and hits a flatliner on Rude for a 2. Storm then spits beer in Steiner's face. For some reason Earl Hebner is blinded too. Beer Money hit the DWI, but they can only get a 2 because Earl Hebner's blinded. Booker and Storm start fighting on the outside. Earl Hebner is distracted and tries to go to the outside to break it up. Booker catches Rude with a scissors kick and then Steiner rolls him up. And this is where this match turns into a complete fail. Storm has to pretend that he's slower than 90-year-old decrepit referee Earl Hebner as he fails to get into the ring and break up the pin before Hebner counts. Look at this, Storm literally started off nearer to the pin than the old man Earl Hebner. This ending just completely took me away from the match. A D. It was going really well before this. After the match, Steiner says that they're the greatest of all time. He's not lying. Backstage, a fat man with a towel over his head says that tonight when he faces Sting, the mystery is over, and his advisor will be revealed. Joe keeps talking about his nation of violence. To explain it, basically Joe was off TV, and then he was brought back into TNA but joined the main event Mafia. Sting didn't like this very much because the main event Mafia wasn't meant for people like Joe. The last time these two clashed, Joe almost killed himself jumping down some steps, but they had a great match. Kind of a cool story here because Sting ended Joe's one and only world title reign. Joe is at his fattest and palest here. It's kind of inexcusable considering he was sat at home doing nothing for months. They start off brawling in the crowd, throwing each other into the beautiful people posters. If it was me, I wouldn't need to be thrown at them. Joe suplexes Sting on the ramp. Sting retaliates and throws Joe into the steps. They then get into the ring for the first time in the match. This doesn't last long and Joe hits a suicide dive to the outside. Sting tries to fight back, but Joe hits a snap slam for a 2. Sting eventually hawks up and hits a back suplex. Stinger then hits a Stinger splash and he twists Joe into the Scorpion Deathlock. Suddenly, some music hits and a fat orange man in a suit walks out. Joe's eyes then roll into the back of his head like he's stuck in the loo, and he fights out of the submission and starts a comeback. Sting hits a top rope clothesline, but Joe gets straight back up. Joe then catches Sting on the top and tries to hit the muscle buster, but Sting fights out of it, or he botched, I don't know. Joe then puts him into the Coquina clutch and taps out Sting. The two fat men then show each other respect in the ring. This was a completely pointless storyline that went nowhere, as Taz joined up with the main event Mafia and then was quickly shifted to commentary, kicking out Don West. Taz continued to play cheerlead for years, but this never went any further, and the Nation of Violence was ultimately pointless. There's then an announcement that TNA have signed Bobby Lashley for the first time. He spends the whole video package talking about Brock Lesnar, hyping a match that we will never ever see in TNA. Backstage, JB tells Mick Foley that it's a very sad atmosphere backstage because the TNA wrestlers have lost all their matches to the Mafia guys. So the main event of Angle and Foley isn't very good. Nick is old and Angle isn't himself at this time. He was really struggling with his real life problems at this point. The highlight of a pretty dull match is Angle reversing a pile driver on the outside and throwing Foley overhead into the steps. From this point onwards, Angle works on Foley's leg. Foley hits the double arm DDT but Kurt kicks out. Foley goes for the claw, but Kurt pushes Foley into the referee for another predictable ref bump. Angle then hits an angle slam, but Foley goes up very heavy, and Foley then kicks out of it. Kurt is so annoyed about this that he takes out the referee. Kurt then goes for the steel chair, but Foley gets the mandible claw. Foley then throws Kurt to the outside of the ring, so that he can set up a move of pure beauty. Foley dives with his elbow onto Kurt on the outside, and then he gets him back in the ring, but it's only a 2. I did love that move though. For some reason the ref hasn't DQ'd or punished Kurt for his attack. Foley then puts a submission on Kurt, but Kurt stays alive and gets out of it. Kurt then puts Foley in the ankle lock, but he makes the ropes. Angle then grapevines Foley's leg and he taps out. The Mafia now have all the gold. Not a very happy ending to this show really. It wasn't a bad match, but it wasn't as good as I'd hoped. They certainly tried, but we didn't really need another ref bump. I think every match tonight had interference or flat out cheating. We get sick of seeing this sort of thing. I give this match a C. So, does this show deserve its reputation? Well, truthfully, there was only really one bad match on the show, but there wasn't any good ones either. On TNA pay-per-views, you could normally guarantee at least 2 good matches. We didn't get that tonight, did we? I don't think it's as bad as people make out. There must be much worse TNA pay-per-views out there. So the big question is, did this show shove it, or did I love it? Well, this show had nothing special on it and represented everything bad about TNA pushing the older guys. So what do you think? Of course this show can shove it.